Welcome to the Sparky Coach podcast. This platform was built by Sparkies for Sparkies. We simply exist to make business owners more profitable, or businesses more profitable and more predictable. So we want to work with people that work hard because we love working hard too, that work smart because you got to be on top of the business, people that are kind because no one likes a dickhead. Am I right? People who want results because that's what we're here for, right? And people who want to be part of a like-minded community. So if you're interested in hearing more about the platform, please reach out and enjoy the podcast. Sparky Coach, Lounge Pod, the big dog, the big Tom dog, back on the mic. How are you?
Morning, how are you? I'm well.
So it's Tom from Ryelec, in case you've been living under a rock for the past bit. Hey, I saw this is the first time I've seen you with a hat on for ages.
Well, I always wore a hat when I was younger, to the point where some people never saw me without a hat. And then I went no hat for a while. And then we did a little company golf day at this place called Shorty's, where it's like 18 holes, but they're all 2 or 3 par, or they're all 3 par. And I bought a hat from Shorty's, and it was the best hat I've ever worn. It was like this nice material, it's nice and light, and then it took me about a month to figure out where they got them from, and then I found them, so now I've got some Ryelec versions.
And what's the odds of getting one sent up north for me? Pretty high?
Very, very high, yeah.
Very, very good.
Extremely high, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying a few different colours and stuff at the moment over the next couple of weeks to see which ones I like the best. Ash got me, I think she got me like 8 different hats. They're all different colours, and some say Ryelec across there, and some just have the R and things like that, so...
What's your preferred one?
Well, this week it's this one, but I've got like a nice light coloured one as well, which has like I think it has a white R or a dark R, but yeah, that's a cool one. So I get to mix between the dark and the light.
And now you've intrigued me when you said you always wore a hat as a kid. What were you like as a teenager? Were you were you rogue? Were you settled in your lane? Were you painting Dungeons and Dragons warriors? Were you out surfing or skating? Like what were you doing?
Anyone who knows me will tell you I was a bit of a loose cannon. So I was, in trouble at school often. Didn't really care much for the whole authority of the school. Things like that. From kindergarten, I was kindergarten case to year 6. My parents didn't like the boys I was hanging out with, so they tried to send me to Bosco, which is like a Catholic-y, private-y school. I don't think it's private, actually. It's more of just a Catholic school. That lasted just year 7, and then I was back with the boys at Heathcote High. Figured out a way to sort of get myself out of there. And then, I was pretty bad at school, to be honest. Bit of a shithead. And then,
did you finish school?
Yeah, I finished school. I went to year 12, but only because I just had no idea what I wanted to do. So I literally did year 11 and 12 purely just to hang out with friends. And, I was the one guy that was in community and family studies. And when I figured out that you had to have the baby, you had to like nurse for that baby that would actually cry and stuff. I had one subject I could drop, so I was like, I'm dropping that as quick as possible. I'm not walking around school with a baby, but I was just doing shit like that, just not taking it seriously, really.
Interesting. It's funny, isn't it? The disconnect there, and you can have your opinions on the schooling system, but to see you thriving in your role now would be, many teachers would be like, "What? Didn't see that coming."
Yeah.
It's really interesting. What do you think it is that got you into starting your own business, running your business? Was it that I don't want to be told, I'm just going to figure it out? Was it just always on your heart? How did you get into it, Ryelec?
I remember even when I was like an apprentice back in the days working with Davis and stuff like that. I just had
stop traffic right now. Shout out to Matt Davis, the best Sparky I've ever worked with. Well, you did your apprenticeship under him. He worked for me for maybe 10 years, 12 years, something like that. Just an absolute godsend. Somehow wearing $300 jeans on site as a second-year apprentice.
It helps somehow, yeah. Makes you a better Sparky. I don't know.
Crazy. Anyway, continue. Yeah.
I don't know. Even at that stage, I remember always thinking that I wanted to do a business. I don't actually know the reason why. I think looking back, I think it was probably I wanted like a bit more freedom, to be honest. Even though you get rid of one freedom, and you know how it goes. Like you sort of become more a slave to the business, I guess, in the early days. So you don't really get your freedom, but you get your freedom on your own terms, I guess. Like, you get to work when you want to work. You get to put in the effort that directly affects you. It's just little things like that. Like, I don't know, it's just, for some reason, just working for someone, I don't know, maybe it was like a bit of a mix of like, I didn't feel like I was doing my full potential. And I just sort of felt like I could have that freedom, which was a good thing, because when I had young kids, like newborns and stuff, I could just, have mornings off, or I could have afternoons off, and I could do, obviously I had a business to run and had to make sure everything was working for everyone else, and myself. But, I had that flexibility, I guess. I was drawn to that.
If I was employed when Phoenix was 0 to 1, when he just really wasn't sleeping and we're out in our feet, I would have been fired by anyone. Like I was working as little as I could to sort of stay on top of everything. It was actually a wild time, and so fortunate to create that flexibility. It's somewhat flexibly unflexible and unflexibly flexible. And I just want to encourage everyone out there, because I know I went through a couple of really, really hard times. I went through this really bad debt, which rocked me to the core, to the point where I remember I had an opportunity to go back on wages with Dave from RJ Air, and they put together this offer. And I remember being really rattled and felt really alone, as I think a lot of people feel. And I don't know if I don't want to say I was crying myself to sleep at night, but I was sad, like internally sad. And I remember like telling myself, just lighting a candle to the trade gods or two, and I was like, if this offer comes in at 100 grand, like over 100 grand, and this was 2011 maybe, this offer comes in over 100 grand, I will take it.
Yep.
And it came in at 100 grand. So the offer to go back on wages came in at 100, and I'd said, well, technically I said over 100 grand, and it was flat the amount. Yep. And I remember just going, all right, I'm on now. I'm going full throttle, full in. And that was a big moment for me. I think there's maybe two major parts of running a business. There's when you start a business, and then there's a time when you decide to take it seriously. And I think they're two separate, hopefully they're the same date, but for too many people, there's a big disconnect. They start and they work out, it's really cool, and then they basically decide to take it seriously. And that was the moment for me, I fully engaged. Can you remember of yourself something similar? It was when you basically went like, no, I'm all in on this thing?
Yeah, I think I was pretty early, to be honest with you. Like, I definitely enjoyed the very start when it was just me in a van, and, the builders I was working for were just like a mate's boss, really, was like my only builder, and just a few little jobs here and there, and I was just cruising for a while. But then once I moved out and we started paying rent and a few things like that, I got a bit more serious with it. We ended up with an apprentice, had a few boys sort of subcontracting. I wasn't running a job management system straight away, but I was running just as simple as Slack, and we just had like a little channel for each job, and we'd talk in there and talk about the materials and stuff. And so pretty early for me, but yeah, I know what you mean. Like, I do see it quite often where people cruise for years on end, and then they'll sort of flip it over and they'll start sign writing the trucks and get the uniforms and things like that.
Yeah, and it's not even essentially not that you're not taking it seriously. It's that there's a part where you realize, like, okay, I can make a lot of money here, or I can lose a lot of money here. And just to flip this, because this is what I wanted to go for originally, if you're tossing up starting a business or not, I would say if it's on your heart, do it. But I would also encourage you to take it really seriously from the get-go and get to know as much as you can. I'd also encourage everyone, going on wages isn't as cracked up as it looks as well. I went back on wages to work for another coaching company back when I first moved up here, and it was so cooked. Like, you fully, as much as it looks like, get this amount in my account every single week. It's just like you're under someone else's schedule, under their regime, under what they think's important, under their ethos, under their banner. And it's like, man, I'm full-blown unemployable.
Me too.
There's no real way to put it. But hey, I wanted to shout you out. I saw you on Insta the other day.
Yep.
Rocking the row machine on the ad. Where was that?
Personal Insta, yeah.
Personal Insta. And that was, what gym are you at? The Yard?
I do the Yard at Heathcote.
Is that Stu Myhill, the Yard?
Yeah, Stewie. Yeah, him and a few others. Yeah, and it's really nice because it's literally in the same street as our factory. So the morning routine's really easy. I just go there, do a session, have a shower. There's a cafe out the front of the gym, get my smoothie or a coffee, and then just walk down the road. And I'm in the office by like 6, 6:15.
Fun fact, I actually married Stu as a
You told
celebrant.
me that. Yeah.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
he was, I don't know if he still does. He did a bit of a landscaping business back in the
He still
day.
does it. Yeah. He
Still,
actually does all the from what I can tell, he does all the yards. So he's over in America right now because they're opening yards over there. And he does all the off-form concrete benches, and they do bench seats, and they do the reception desk. And
cool.
he just does every single one of them everywhere, I guess.
Man, I love that guy. Now,
Yeah.
the reason I said, how important do you think exercising is? It's something that I've recently gotten into, maybe 3 years ago, religiously,
Yep.
and I think for me, especially running a business, you got so many ups and downs, like a bit of a roller coaster,
Mm.
and certain times you can't control your day. Who's going to call in sick? How many emergencies are going to be? If someone called me the other day and they're like, "Oh, Growy, someone cut out downlights in structural timber," like, and then they got to basically rip the ceiling down and replace the timber. It's
Oh, no.
psycho level. Just so there's elements that are outside your control. Obviously, you can control who you hire, stuff like that. But
Yeah.
what I found was exercising for me was almost, you can't control the weather, but I can control getting up in the morning and going and moving my body. And I
Yep.
think for me, it was like almost a control the controllable. So I'll control what I can control. What I can't control, I'm going to just like basically, it makes it easier when those curveballs happen in life or business. It makes it easier to me when you've got some element of grounding. Like I surf this many times a week, I exercise this many times a week, and it brings that sort of mental clarity and headspace. Where do you sit on the exercise regime? I know you're pretty religious with it too. What does
I,
it bring
I
to
am
you?
now.
And
Yeah.
but you weren't for a while, and I
Oh,
wasn't either. And I think it
no
would
way.
have. I think I would have benefited those first 5 to 10 years in business,
Yeah.
where I basically sacrificial lamb, like just you know, like die on a cross, like exercise just dies, right? So
Yeah.
psycho. But I reckon I would have really benefited from looking after myself
Yeah.
in that mode. What's your reflection on that? Because when did you get pretty into it?
Probably, what is it? Yeah, August last year is when I jumped in. So, yeah, I'm the same. I reckon it would have done me wonders over the years. My morning routine used to be, I've always been active, but I've never really done heaps of like proper gym classes and things like that. My morning routine used to be wake up freaking out, being like, holy shit, I got so much like stuff to do. And the the cafe out the front opens at 5 a.m. So I used to come up here and get my coffee at 5 a.m. and then just go straight to the office. And like the fact that the cafe opened earlier than anywhere else was like a good thing, but it was also a bad thing because I just got in this routine of just starting heaps early and then finishing at like, I don't know, like still sort of 3 o'clock. Like I'd finish on time, but I'd start early. And then I started to just feel heaps shit because I was sitting in the office all the time, literally from like 5 a.m. to 3 p.m., drinking coffee all day, just eating shit like takeaway and stuff like that. And for about 2 years, I reckon I did that, or a year and a half. And every morning I'd go down there and I'd be heaps friendly with the cafe people, talk to them and be like, oh, why don't you go in and do a session? Because I'd sort of just be like, oh, it looks all right in there, you know? And I popped my head in once or twice and I was like, fuck that. There's too many people. I don't know. You know, like they look all fit as. And then one day they're just like, all right, just come in. Like next Monday you're coming in. I was like, all right, I'll do it. So I went in there and I was like, oh shit, this is pretty good. And then it flogged me. The first, like the yard sessions are really hard, but they just smash you there, which is good. Um, and I felt sore, but I felt great. And then I was just like, you know what, I'm just gonna keep going with this. And then it's just now that I'm in the routine, it's like super easy. My alarm goes off at 20 past 4 every day. You know, not trying to sound like one of those crazy Instagram people that's like, this is my morning routine, this is what you have to do. But that's just the rhythm I'm in now, and it's really good. And yeah, I think because I've had a couple of like a bit of a stressful time at the moment. Like there's a bit of shit going on, and I've got the house build and just work's busy, and it's like good stress and bad stress. But the fact that I can exercise and have like an hour, no phone, like literally you can't even look at your phone. You could if you wanted to, but I don't. And you're just like in the zone doing something else. It's just, yeah, it's been the best thing ever. Been loving it.
Yeah, it's so interesting, and I think I'm encouraging everyone to find their own rhythm. And this is, I get up in the fours as well, 4:40, a little bit later than you. Some
Oh,
would say, but
mate.
whatever. Who's judging? But I think as a dad and a husband, I don't want to rob that time in the afternoon
Yeah.
from my family personally. Everyone's different at a different stage of life, and obviously, like my kids is 6 and 8. Your kids are preschool and school as well,
4
right?
and 5, yeah.
4 and 5. So it's a
Yeah.
lot easier now than it was with a newborn baby.
Oh, for
But
sure.
but I can basically get up, exercise, surf, and then come home and everyone's still asleep. And if I was to exercise in the nighttime
Yeah.
like that, I just feel like it's the most unselfish thing to do is to wake up and just boost out. And there's
Yeah.
nothing quite like watching the sunrise as well over
It's
the
really
water.
good, yeah.
It's
I
so
like, I'm a morning person too. Like, I reckon the morning's the better part of the day. The Arvos, the Arvos are good, but I'm definitely just boost in the morning, and then I just turn into a slug in the Arvo. So
yeah, just sloughing
yeah,
out there.
yeah,
I've been on a massive admin journey. I wanted to hear your thoughts on this.
yeah,
Just how to get the most productivity out of myself in the office. And I know you're a big efficiency guy. And I think efficiency is so interesting because so often we're rating everyone on site for net profit and did you get that roughed in 4 days and how long did those speakers take you? Were they invisible or not? And that's all cool and worthwhile. But so often we can just be sluggish in the office and not produce. And I've been on this big mission going like, well, when do I best produce? Okay, I've got to eat well, which is really important. I've got to limit myself to 2 coffees, which is really important. I've got to do my high level tasks in the morning, which is really important. I've got to firstly make time for those high level tasks.
yeah.
I'm reading that 80-20 rule. Have you read that? The
No,
really interesting. It's basically talking about how 20% of your work produces 80% of the outcomes, and
yeah,
are you doing that 20%, and where is it, kind of
yeah,
thing. I'm only like a chapter in, so I don't want to be
yeah,
high horsing around here like I know what I'm talking about.
yeah,
But
yeah,
I think it's so often people don't work to a schedule. They come in to an uncontrolled environment and get to do whatever the hell they want. They get to go and chat for an hour. They get to go do this, send some emails, then go home and carry that stress home.
yeah.
But only they're carrying that stress home because they didn't get anything done during the day.
Mhm.
How do you, in an office environment with a team, how do you make sure you're getting the most out of yourself, getting the most out of others? What do you sort of put in place?
And that battle is super difficult. So I was actually talking to someone about this the other day. I get more done in that morning period from say like 6 a.m. till 8 a.m. than I do the rest of the day. Because once people start coming into the office and the phone calls start coming in, and I get phone calls from staff as well with like technical questions sometimes, what you can do between 6 and 8 in like 10 minutes could take half an hour to 40 minutes, I reckon, in normal part of the day. So I generally try and hit whatever that biggest task is or the most important thing for the day. It could be a quote, it could be building a little system, it could be anything. I try and hit that like coffee in hand first thing in the morning. Music on, no one else is in the office yet. People usually start rolling into like 7. So that's sort of the biggest thing for me, I find, is just hitting that first thing, like the biggest thing first and early. And then I have a bit of a rolling list from there, basically. So I actually taught Heath this one the other day. So I do a half an hour or an hour, depending on how busy your brain is, brain dump, where you literally just sit there, you go phone off, you get a piece of paper and a pen out, and you just start writing things that are in your brain. And it can be anything. It could be work related, personal related, things like that. And usually what happens is you write for about 5 minutes or 10 minutes and you're like, all right, my list is done. But as long as you just got to stay there and not go, all right, my list is done. And you'll find in a couple of minutes, something else will pop into your head. And then 5 minutes later, something else will pop into your head. And then just before the end, after half an hour, something will still pop into your head. And it's just gives your head that time, I feel, to just empty out. And then it does 2 things. It gives you a big list, which then I number, and I just go, all right, this is the highest priority all the way down to the lowest. Plus, it also clears your head out. And because all that shit's in there, it's just not front of mind. And it's just rattling around in there. So once you get it out onto a piece of paper, I find that helps massively.
Are you a paper? Do you have your to-do list on a task management system, or do you
I
roll?
do. So I use like a proper, so we use Google Tasks because I can have my own lists. I've got 3 of my own lists for different things, and then I've got shared lists with the other guys. But when I'm doing that brain dump thing, I do that with paper because I don't want the computer open in front of me. I don't want my phone open. I don't want emails popping up. So that brain dump just goes pen and paper, just sitting there drinking a coffee and just thinking.
That's so good. I think we're probably not too dissimilar in that I've got a what would be equivalent of a wholesaler diary sitting next to me, but work off a pretty stringent task list. But I come and I call it the setup. Basically, get all my stuff out onto the paper. I mean, my day is a lot more predictable than your day probably would be as well, but still
Hmm.
elements of unpredictability. We offer emergency help to everyone, all our members.
Yep.
So there's usually an element of just maybe like 5 to 10 people need a phone call or something happened that day. I
Yep.
think a couple of things is my advice to everyone is take control of your schedule as much as you can. Unless someone's dying or on fire, is it really that important? There's two things to look at here. One is, yes, I need to answer that question that person's got. And the second one is, how urgent is that question that they've got? And can someone else answer it? And
Yep.
that's the thing with a tech question, and you've got someone on site, you might need to answer that question physically. But also, if you get disrupted from your task, it's going to take 15 to 20 minutes to reset back into that task.
For sure.
So it's so critical for everyone out there. If you're blocking out time to work on something, block out the time to work on it. Put your phone in the bin, get rid of all emails. If your second screen should be Lagwagon or some kind of 90s punk just blaring
Exactly.
at you, or some kind of house music, whatever you're into. There's
Yeah.
no judgment here, but it should just be whatever's putting you in the zone. And if you find you get consistently interrupted, just set 45 minutes. Surely you can go uncontactable for 45 minutes. The danger I see is, and I'd love your thoughts on this, that because obviously you've got Maxi, who's a what his role will be, operations manager, kinda, or
Yeah,
what's
on the automation side, yeah. So he's like operations and technical, like he'll program jobs and stuff as well from a high level from the office.
Yeah, so it's interesting because you look at him and at some point you have to recreate him. But if, and this is the danger I see with business owners, they can't recreate anyone, whether operations or admin, because they don't know what they do.
Yep.
So they're looking at their schedule being like, oh, I just do whatever I want to do. Well, I might get called out today. I might answer this phone call and talk for 45 minutes. I might just do this. It's like, no, you need to work to a relatively, organized schedule so you know what you do. So if the time comes to hand it over to someone, then it's like, well, this is what I do. And
Yep.
the danger is most business owners would be better off if they were out of the business. It's like unproductive, unorganized, uneducated, and you're emotional about
Yeah.
it. So it's like, how do I remove those things and be an employee of my business and make
Yeah.
sure I'm producing? But how did you find that transition? Because we can talk about handing roles over to operations managers. Really, you're handing a schedule over, really, or a task list, and being like, can you plow through this? How did
Yeah.
you find that? And what's your sort of advice to someone going through that range?
Um, I think with everyone I've ever spoken to, that's always so hard, is getting things, exactly how you like them done out of your brain and into like a process, especially when we are like service businesses and every day is different, like it's not like, oh, this is exactly what we do every day and this is our thing. Like so yeah, it's been a difficult one. Like with Maxi, he's just been around me for so long that he just knows, what I would do in that situation, how I think, how we do the jobs. I think that's just been a big time thing. With Dav coming on board recently, we were a lot more. So Max came in when we were just scattered all over the place and it was just a mess. So he just learnt sort of the hard way. But when Dav came in, I had a bit of structure. So we had like our favourites all built out in Fergus. We had a quoting system. This is how we do it. This is how we start. This is how we build it out. This is how we do it. We had things like, oh, have a look in Fergus before you send a quote. Make sure it's this gross profit or net profit before you shoot it off. Just little things like that. I do things a bit more full on, I guess, than the usual. Like I've started creating like our own internal portal, and I've started filming myself little Loom videos of like how I do ground plan markups when it's a full automation project, and how to do this and how to do that. And the boys haven't been using it heaps now, but literally just before I jumped on here, Dav was doing something. He's marking up an automation job at the moment, and he asked me a question. I was like, "Oh, I'll just flick you over the thingo again, the portal. Have a look in there. There's all these little videos." And he's like, "Oh, that's right. I forgot about that." So it's just like doing things like that, like just trying to get shit out of your head and put it into something, piece of paper. It could be a Google Doc that's just messy, and it's there, but at least you've got something to refer to. And I think the biggest thing for me was like when I was creating those videos, it was I had to really think about it. Like, oh fuck, how do I actually do that? And because it's easy once you've been doing it for 5 years or so to just do something. But when you need to actually think about it, then it helps you actually put it into like steps of a process as well. And I've actually found myself that I've changed my steps because I thought about how I was going to get it over to someone else. Instead of just doing things in a certain order, and I changed our quoting process slightly just to make it easier.
And when you're, I guess you would call them SOPs or standard operating procedures or a process or system, whatever you want to call it, it's
Yeah.
all the same thing. When you're developing that, are you recording it on, say, Loom and then sort of auto-populating the process, or are you manually entering that in? You know how you can use Scribe or whatever it is, and it just sort of
Yeah,
populates.
Loom does that now, but
Does
like
it?
for you.
Cool.
Yeah, so Loom sort of does what Scribe does now. So you can film. I try and do it as like little 5 minute max videos. Try and keep them a couple of minutes, and just break it into each section. And then what happens is you film your video, it automatically does all the subtitles, just in case they're in the office and they don't want to, listen to me talking all day. But then it builds out a little SOP automatically, which you can obviously edit if there's any errors in it.
And do you find that SOP it needs much editing, or you feel like it's pretty good,
Not
or
really. They're pretty good. Yeah, they're pretty solid to be honest.
so good? How
Yeah,
exciting! And
yeah,
how are you balancing your schedule? You mentioned before you've got your 1 to 10 tasks or you brain dumping. How do
yeah.
you determine what the most critical thing is for you? Because obviously you're sort of looking holistically, going, there's the most important task today, and then the most important task in the week, and then in the month. And
Yeah.
sometimes there are three different tasks for that. But how do you make sure your fingers on the pulse in delivering what you need to deliver?
Hmm. I've been sort of just thinking like whatever either moves the needle or creates revenue as like the first point. So it could be just say I've got two quotes I need to do. One, if I feel like one is further along and they're going to accept it first or sooner and we're going to get a deposit or something like that, I'll prioritize that one because I know that I'll be able to do the next one in a day or two, sort of thing. And I know that, speed to a lead's a good thing as well. So it's, yeah. And then if it's like a system or something, I'll be like, all right, this is becoming a big bottleneck issue and it's slowing this down, which is affecting, productivity or revenue or something like that, then I'll prioritize that one over the one that would be nice to have, like something that's not really going to move the needle too much, but it would help in the long run or something. So I guess the biggest thing is like if it's affecting profit or revenue is the target for me.
It's so interesting, isn't it? Because you look at it from a top-down point of view, and most of us, when we get contacted by a new client and it's exciting, it could be commercial, builder, industrial, whatever, it's exciting. You want to really prioritize the new person.
Mm,
And you look at it, and if you've got three quotes in front of you and you've got to do all three of them, you might look at it and be like, well, okay, who have we worked for before, and what's the percentage chance of winning this job? So
yeah,
this was from a cold reach out. Okay, that's pretty much, not say it's a zero, but it's a low percentage play of
yeah,
maybe based off price only. This one worked for them before, hot lead, love working with them. But it's amazing how often you can mix those priorities up because you want to
mm,
please the new person and have that speed to lead and look how good we are. And you can prioritize all this new, but forget about the existing.
yeah,
And I think it's so interesting when you talk about finding clients and retaining clients. They're the same thing, but two completely different things. Finding staff and retaining staff, same concept, but completely separate. And even the sort of, you mentioned it before, with Maxi's being around for, I don't know, 10 years at least, right? Some.
more, yeah, more now. It's probably
So
12 or
he's
so.
literally part of the furniture.
Hmm.
People underestimate it's like a long-term partner
Yeah,
without some benefits, maybe. Let's see how we go. But
we try and keep it PG around here.
yeah, yeah. But it's like having a long-term partner that just knows you. They can pick up after you.
Yeah,
They can sort of you can work really well in sync together, communicate less, but get done more because you know each other back to front. I think that's the most underrated thing of how do you hold and retain staff members, hold and retain clients. Do you prioritize the quotes based on something like that too? Based on, oh, I've worked with them before and I'll do that. And,
Yeah, I do. It's I've got a mixture of that, and if it's automation only or automation and electrical. So these days I will prioritize just the automation only quotes, and then if there's time, I'll hit some of the full automation and electrical ones. Just because for me, like the direction we're taking is that path, but I guess that could play into other people's businesses. So if their like main focus or direction is this, and then this other quote comes in, I would prioritize the one that your main focus is on first, and do the other one secondary.
Yeah. Are you phasing electrical out, or what are you looking at?
Slowly, yeah. So the only jobs that we're doing at the moment, we've got two big electrical jobs on, but they're, in my eyes and everyone's eyes, they are smart home jobs. But we also are doing the electrical scope, where usually it's the other way around. Usually it's the electrical or the electrician is doing the job, and then the smart home's under it. And these two particular jobs are clients that just wanted that whole company to do the whole thing and have that whole experience. So I don't know, like, are we phasing it out? Standard electrical, 100%, or just electrical only, sorry, 100%, but full projects, TBC.
That's interesting. I mean, and when you say the client requested, is that an individual client or a business, like a builder client?
No, that is the owner of the house. So they came into our showroom and they sort of, I never entertain it. They just asked the question, and I would only ever do it if it was a job that was, the lead was directly to us, no Sparky involved yet, which is these two jobs were.
Yeah, that's an interesting thought, because you look at it and you're like, well, the client wants what the client wants. End of the day, if they're happy to pay for that, sweet. And how do you find the skill set is? Because obviously, let's say roughing in of a house is a full blown, like, it's almost like a sub trade in a way to do it well. And like handling a project, I think a lot of the reason people can't make money on it is because they don't know how to handle it, and or they're not very good. I sit with a lot of people quoting, and they might either severely undercook their time, or I reckon that'll take 5 days or 5 months or whatever, or seriously overcook it to a psycho amount where I'm like, it's not going to take you that long. And it's how do you find the skill set trajectory is between turbo roughing and sit there on a chair with a coffee programming? It's chalk and cheese? But
they're two different things, 100%. And I guess for us, we came from the electrical world first and then moved into the automation, and then over the past 5 to 7 years has just been just going towards the automation side. So the guys like Chris, who's on site, he's been with us as long as or longer than Max. So, and he's always just been electrical only. He's not interested in computers, doesn't care for it. He's just an absolute lord on the tools. So I guess that's the other reason why we're only doing minimal as well, is because I know that he can nail the jobs. And I'm not I just want to have enough work just for him to be able to handle his jobs and have the boys under him. I don't want to grow the electrical side. So I'm just happy for him to just have one or two major projects to deal with, because I know that they're going to get done perfectly, because we've worked together since the K-Tech days, actually. So we've probably been working together for like 15 plus years. So I've got full trust and faith in him to deliver those jobs. If I didn't have him, I just would have scrapped electrical already, put it that way.
Yeah, that's cool. Exciting.
Yeah,
and the
really
client wants what the client wants. Do you find it's easy to control with all you guys doing that?
100%. Heaps less goes through me and Davin in the office, because, well, it's starting to go through Dav a bit more now, but it's just like everyone just talks amongst themselves internally in our Slack channel, instead of like, one of our programmers saying, hey, can you reach out to the builder or reach out to the Sparky and get me this information and get back, or can you organize a meeting on site with this person? And just saves a lot of bullshit, I feel. And it just, they just seem to run a lot smoother, especially because our guys have been around automation heavily for a long time. They just know all the ins and outs. So like, There's no little questions of like, oh, what do I run for this? What do I run for that? Even though we still do our whole process, like we'll still do our board designs, our board building, our cable schedules for our own team, but it just is easier because they've just been around it for so long.
Yeah, I can imagine taking, if you look at it if you're the Sparky running that project, there's questions of, yeah, what cable do we run for that?
Yeah,
And what, and obviously different brands a lot of times have sort of different requirements at certain
yeah.
times. It's pretty typical, but sometimes there's some curveballs in there. Then you've
Still like
got,
little things like,
yeah,
there's sometimes you got to recess the wall box in for this type of switch, or you got to have it out for that type of switch. It's just all those little things that you just don't have to worry about.
yeah. And then you've got things going through the Sparky, through usually even on that multiple channels from the boss down to the project manager down to the
Yeah,
tradie on site, and then you've got
yeah.
the architect and the builder communicating. So if you can take all that out, I can imagine the project management drops way down the
Yeah, on
mainframe.
both sides, to be honest. Yeah, on the
Yeah.
automation side too. Like we will just rock up and everything will be fit off like to a perfect level, essentially, ready to just dump the file onto. So just helps that side too.
So good. And how are you currently capturing variations? Do you capture that weekly or daily? How?
We just do it all on the fly daily. So that's the whole reason I a little while ago, a couple of years ago, started. So we started using Slack at the start, like I mentioned at the start of today, and then we stopped using it. Slack's just like a communications channel, like Teams sort of thing. And then as the business grew and shit was getting lost and forgotten, and communication was failing a little bit, I reintroduced it and put everyone back in there. And then so we have like Fergus, or other people use Simpros. That's our job management system. That's where we quote, we build the variations, we schedule the labor, we do all that kind of stuff. But every major project has its own Slack channel, and it's just like a group chat, but just specifically for that job only. And we put the files in there, we put contact details in there, we'll write notes in there. The boys on site can take photos in real time, be like, what's this? How does that go? Oh, we've forgotten this, things like that. And that's how the varies get communicated through as well. It's just like, oh, hey, just chatting with the builder right now. He wants to do this, he wants to do that. That just pings on the office, like on all of our computers, just pops up like a message. Dav will pick it up basically straight away, or he'll ask a few questions back and forth on the chat. And then we build the quote and we send it off. So it's real time.
What's the risk of missing something on that? Pretty low?
As in like missing, like someone writes
Like a
something.
variation, yeah. So someone's like, vary for this, and then, ping, 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 downstream.
Like it could happen, but we at least always just give like an emoji, like a thumbs up or something, which means received and we're on it. But yeah, you still could, like, it's not bulletproof, but as long as everyone's keeping the chat up, it's good. And I also, so the good thing about Slack is it's got like this little AI, like everything has AI in it now, but it's got this little AI thing that will give you like a report and a catch up at the end of the day and the end of the week. So anything that's like if I've been tagged into something, because they write like at Tom sort of thing, and I haven't responded, it'll remind me that someone's asked me a question and things like that. So it's pretty hard to forget things, I'd say.
That's so cool. And now coming into, you were mentioning you're building your house,
I am.
and it's that framing stage, which is super exciting.
Roof trusses
And
are on. Framing's pretty much done now.
when will the roof go on?
Well, because we're in a full flame zone, we're just waiting a week or two to get an answer. We've got to put all plywood around the upstairs level. The bottom level's all brick, so that complies with flame zone. The top level is like metal roofing on the roof and then down the walls. So behind it, it needs what they call a fire system, and where it's been signed off on the DA as plywood, I believe. But then the fire guy's trying to make us put on 30 grand's worth of compressed sheeting. So I'm just arguing that at the moment. But once that goes on, which should take 2 weeks, I'd say, then the roof can go on, and then it's time, baby. It's time to rip in.
Compressed sheeting sounds much more fireproof than plywood, I got to admit.
Yeah, it's so super weird, eh? Like nearly every house in a flame zone, they put plywood first and then they put the outer layer on. So the outer layer is like what stops the flame, and then the plywood essentially stops the embers coming in or something like that. So
Interesting. And
yeah,
and you were mentioning before you were you're going to go pretty nuts on your house. What are you excited about putting in? What are you putting into your house, and what are
Yep.
some cool little features? And yeah, tell us about it.
Yeah, so I'm definitely going to do KNX as you would assume. Uh, I'm going to go. Well, I'm definitely doing the Savant app, but I'm also pondering putting in Basalt as well, so I can put an Ellie on the wall because their touchscreens are so nice. And I am actually going to use this as like it's going to be my house first, but it will secondarily be a showroom separate to this showroom because I think one day I might renovate this one a bit and put like a bit of a theatre and stuff in it, which will reduce the size. So, and this has been amazing, this showroom, but I think being an actual house with like in real scale with a backyard and things like that would just really like, it'll help a lot with customers understanding how it works.
Yeah, it'll. When I feel like my business hit a level when we did a development, and then you could walk people through, and we had that iPad control that you sort of
Yeah.
programmed. And when you could walk people through and be like, "Oh, this is what we do. It's cool," and these LED strips from Opal Lighting or whatever, I feel like it just takes it to that next level. You can have
Yeah.
people through your
For sure.
house or even through a show house. And I think once you've done a build, anytime you've done a large scale renovation or a build for yourself, I reckon every time you do something major, you get a lot better at dealing with customers because you know how bad it is to be dealt with poorly. And
Mate,
yeah, you know what I'm
it's
saying.
it is funny, eh? Like it's like I know we have our issues like anyone, like getting back to people and things like that. But dealing with these just like smaller local trades is like it just I've heard you say it before, it just makes you realize how low the bar is. And like you send quotes off to people and you literally just don't even hear a response. And then 2 months later they'll just hit your inbox and be like, "Oh, here's your quote." You'll be like, "Fuck, I gave that job to someone ages ago. Like I didn't even hear back from you."
Or worse, you get sent a variations bill and it's like, what's this for? I've been
Yeah,
living here
yeah,
for
yeah,
6 months.
yeah,
So
yeah,
it's real. It just makes you want to, it makes you want to be better because, yeah, you realize how low the bar is, but
yeah,
also you realize how much it matters when you
yeah,
get sent a bill personally for something that someone else hasn't communicated properly,
yeah,
or it feels terrible. It's an awful feeling in a situation. But I
yeah,
reckon, and I think the big clients know, like when it's almost like the older you are, the more street cred you probably have because you've just seen a lot more of stuff and life
yeah,
and mishandling, I guess you would say. But
yeah.
talk to us about what speakers you're going to put in there. Invisible speakers,
Yeah.
I'm assuming.
I'll,
What do
I'll
you
be
think?
going, I'll be doing invisible. So we've got this big open plan section down the bottom that sort of is like what is the open plan space. So it's the kitchen and the dining and the living room. And it's like it's got a big sliding door. Like it's the furthest thing acoustically that you'd ever want. It's going to be terrible acoustically. So what I'm going to do, I'm not going to worry about like a theater room, but I sort of am in a way. It's going to be like an invisible one. So when I went over to Sonance in the States, they showed me this really cool way to set up like what they call over in the States a great room, which is what we call open plan living. And it's like there's always that sacrifice between are we going like a big stereo system, like left and right, or are we going surround sound? And what they've done, they did like a hybrid. So essentially we're going to do big TV on the wall right at the end of the room. Um, at the front in the roof, we're going to go left, center, right, and visible. Then above our heads on the sides, we'll do left and right mid surrounds. And then right at the back where the kitchen is, we'll do left and right rear surrounds. And then near the TV, I'm going to do an invisible dual 10-inch subwoofer. And then at the back of the room, I'm going to do another invisible dual 10-inch subwoofer. And then what will happen is I'm going to have an AV receiver, which basically won't power the speakers. It will just send the messages out to the actual speaker amplifiers. And then you can switch between the two. So when you're listening to music, that'll just come out of the Savant system and go into the invisible speaker amplifiers. And it'll just be like left, right, left, right, left, right, because that way, whatever angle you're on, you've got left and right, and the subs are playing, and everything's in stereo. And then what will happen is you'll switch over to another input, and it'll go into full surround sound mode, where the center speaker will then come into it, and it'll be like a invisible theater room in a way.
I mean, that's much more applicable to general life, isn't it? I mean, most people when they sum up, if you sit down with an architect, you're probably not going, I want my living room to blast sound. Like
Yeah,
it's probably down on the to-do list
yeah,
past It needs to feel open. It needs to be light filled. It needs to have doors opening to the deck. It needs to have a TV in it. It needs, you know, you're probably thinking about family life or life first and speakers second.
Yeah.
So, like, I mean, I'm going to go on a limb and say 99% of people won't have a theatre room, but
Yeah.
they still want their open plan living to feel loud and and boosting. What's the movie of choice? What do you reckon the first movie we'll put on for the surround sound will be for you?
Have to be Top Gun. It's got to be.
So I thought you'd say old school. My neck.
You need something like that.
So
yeah,
good.
I'll be watching those, but you got to have the good action film for the first one. I think with that kind of stuff, you're right. Like, so this is what we always show in the showroom too. It's like we always go from an angle of aesthetics first of the house. So we're on the architect and interior designer and generically the wife's side first of the owner of the house, where we're saying, yeah, you can, like, and it's exactly what our house will be. It's going to be light filled. There's a big window right next to the TV that's going to look out to the pool when I can afford it. There's a big sliding door that goes out to a balcony. Then there's a big window next to that. And then on the other side, there's another 2 windows, and they're going to have curtains, and everything wants to be white and bright and, you know, all that kind of stuff with a nice flooring. The last thing that my missus would ever let me do is have these speaker grills in the roof that look like dinner plates on there, and have 7 of them on the roof, and then big square subwoofer boxes or grills on the walls. So the fact that I can take a customer into the room, into the house, and people come in here all the time, they're like, oh, like some people have actually said to me, oh, there's not much in here. And I'm like, hold on. And then you start showing them everything, and you're like, there's a switch, there's a touchscreen, there's speakers everywhere. Like, this room's got speakers in the roof, the other room over there doesn't, they're all invisible. And you show the two. So I'm excited to be able to, like, you know, for the first time when some of the mates come over and just like turn this thing on and just blast their heads off, and they'll be like, where the fuck's all this coming from? And yeah, it's
good. And you mentioned Sonance gonna sort of help you out. Is that a thing? Or
yeah, I've been chatting with them. So I never imagined myself doing any of this kind of stuff, but I want to do like a little bit of a Instagram-y, maybe a YouTube-y thing where, like, I guess because it's my house, it's a unique opportunity. Like, I can show literally everything from start to finish, and I don't feel weird about it because it's, you know, like, not a customer's house and I'm giving away everything that's in their house. So I'm going to do like a bit of a series, I guess, or just videos where it's going to be how you design a whole system from scratch, you know, on the plans, using ground plan and all that kind of stuff, what to think about and take into consideration as you're designing it. Then how to take that to the next stage. Like, obviously I'm going to accept my own quote, and do all the designs, like the cable designs and the rack designs and the plant room designs, even though I don't have a plant room, mine's just in a garage, but I'll still do a design. And then, you know, go to rough-in and do like the full cable rough-in, do like electrical stuff that we never show, and what to, you know, probably cabling all the speakers and what to think about and how to do it and separation and all that kind of stuff. And then building the racks, building the boards, installing it, programming it, and then show it all at the end, all finished, and be able to show everything to like a super high level. Be really cool.
That's so cool. I mean, I'd tune into that. See the invisible speakers go in pre-sheeting. Like, I'd be so interested in. I think many people would be, especially the cabling of all that sort of stuff and the smart home stuff. Even a Sparky that works on the projects, you might see a point of it, but you're not seeing that final level detail at the end of it. So, yeah, you'd be an electrical influencer in no time. And who else do you want to come to the party for? Like, who would be a dream to sort of partner with?
Pretty much anyone that's expensive. You know, obviously KNX. So I'll talk to Ivory Egg, who's like our supplier in Australia that sells all the KNX products. I've had a brief discussion with them. They seemed pretty keen, but haven't officially done anything yet. I'm contemplating putting in Econex switches. I'm going to do some basalt, which are these fancy things. I'll do them downstairs. But in all the kids' bedrooms and everything, I'm probably going to do... It's convenient that I've got all this shit here. I'll probably do these switches with the buttons on it. These light up. So when they're on and installed, they light up, and you just write labels in them. So I'll do some of these. And I'll put those in the kids' rooms because we're going to have... Or the whole upstairs, actually, because we're going to have, you know, lighting scenes. So I'll do a bright and a soft. We're going to have a ceiling fan. We're going to have internal blinds. Because we're in a flame zone, we have external shutters. So they're operable. have a climate button, which will just turn the aircon on and off, or turn the floor heating on and off in the wet areas. And that'll read the room temperature too. Both of those switches read the room temp, so I don't have to have aircon wall controllers and stuff in plain sight.
Does the external shutters have to shut when fire?
Yeah.
And
yeah,
what
they automatically shut.
What tells them to shut?
So you've either manually got to shut them. So I'll just have probably a scene at the front door of the garage that shuts them all. But if you lose power, fire takes out the power in the power lines or whatever, they shut automatically.
Oh, okay, that makes sense. Yeah. Almost like a wind sensor, but like power.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, once they lose power. So if someone turns the main switch off, even if there's no fire, obviously they'll still all shut.
Nice.
Yeah.
Exciting. That's super cool. Yeah, I can't wait to see this thing come together. When are you moving in?
Oh, mate, who knows? I gotta sell an investment property to fund it first, so we're starting to run out of money already. But I don't know. Hopefully September.
So Christmas.
Before Christmas, we're one of those clients. Yeah.
You're one of those. This is actually like reasonable deadline, which is no, that's awesome. And and if you had one shot, one opportunity to bless someone into the day, what would you say?
Well, like I've been telling everyone in the Sparky Coach platform recently, is get your pre-builds and your favorites put together, because it'll change your life and save you shitloads of time.
And are people listening?
Are they listening?
Yeah.
I hope so.
Good.
Oh, you mean in the course? Yeah, sort of. No, yeah. I thought you meant to the podcast. So I was like, fuck, well, otherwise we're wasting our time, aren't we?
Yeah, no. In their platform, because you run our Plus Mill Club, for anyone doing $1 million north of revenue, are people building stuff out? Who's your star pupil there? Who's your favorite?
To be honest, no one at the moment. I'm still waiting to see, I love them all, but I'm still waiting to see someone to come back and be like, here's the 10 favorites I built this week.
It's kind of sort of circling right back to our start discussion, which is like, lay your day plan out, do the most important 1 to 2 hours of stuff, and then roll on with your day. And I think if you look after your mental health, which is exercising, and do that part of the business which is going to move the needle forward the most, and then you're cooking. Do whatever the hell you want after that, really. I think everyone will find there's probably only 2 hours of your day that actually matters, and too many people aren't doing it at all. But if you just work out what that 2 hours is, when's it happening, get it done, and then roll on. So thanks for hanging out, Tommy. You've been a pleasure as normal. Don't hang up.
I won't. Never will.
And we'll say bye to all the listeners. See you guys. Peace.
Bye.
That's a wrap on another podcast. Whatever you're doing, don't be too busy to stop and check if you're making money. And above all else, you know the rules. Be kind. See you soon.